The Gardener by P. Lankesh. Elaboration can only impoverish this account and make it less authentic. I conceived the story in a flash. It had its genesis in my chance encounter with an old man. He was standing in a coconut grove near Chinarayanpatna. His eyes were suffused with strange memories and native intelligence. He stood there, a tall figure, hair gone grey, a long beak-like nose, and strong muscular arms. In one hand a spade used to tend coconut tree and a newspaper tucked under his arm. He was a laborer, overseer, and a philosopher all rolled into one. He came to this garden one day after walking hundreds of miles. The owner of this plantation needed a person exactly like him. A few words were exchanged. The old man stayed on. He was really useful. He was well versed in agriculture and could understand the problems of workers. The petty thefts in the garden came to an end. The income from the garden improved dramatically. There was a perceptible change in the lifestyle of the owner. The plantation expanded, but the owner became lethargic and shielded away from hard work. His wife found this very strange. She found it hard to decide whether the old man's arrival was for the better or for the worse. Her husband's wealth and social prestige has risen higher. He acquired a number of friends in the next town, an equal number in his own village. Even though he had precious little to do, his life became crowded with colorful events. She became apprehensive about his adultery and obtained other vices cultivated lately thanks to his newly acquired clout. Their farm was merely 10 acres, had grown beyond their imagination. That was fine, but their life was also gradually getting out of hand. When she was in a fix like this, one day the old man met her and behaved as though he knew all about her plight. He smiled at her and brought down an offering of tender coconuts from a nearby tree. He sat on the embankment of the well. She had no alternative and sat next to him. The old man began his narrative. In a far off place, once there was a man called Tamanna. He had everything: 10 acres of wetland, a comfortable house, people too ready to do his bidding. The most important among all his possessions was his rival Sangoji. After proceeding this far, the old man started fumbling for words as though he had committed a mistake. She was listening. She felt like going away, saying, "All this is none of my concern." However, unwilling to hurt the old man, she continued to sit there quietly. The old man went on. No, his name was not Sangoji, it was Basavaya. He expressed his amazement at how facts take on such varied guises when they are narrated as fiction. Let that be. Let us assume his name was Basavaya. He was Tamanna's rival. If Tamanna bought 4 more acres adjacent to his land, Basavaya also followed suit. If one had 10 friends, the other acquired 15 admirers. To begin with, all this looked like a healthy competition. However, gradually it rose to such a pitch that there was no land left in the village for them to buy. All land belonged to either Tamanna or Basavaya. Tamanna had 1,000 acres and Basavaya owned 800. Basavaya could not tolerate this. He sent word to Tamanna asking him to sell 200 acres. Tamanna did not agree. He was prepared to buy all the land that belonged to Basavaya. Basavaya was mad with rage. He went along with his people and acquired 200 acres of the Manna's land forcibly. A fence was built around that land. Tamanna could not tolerate this invasion. But now the quarrel between these two had sucked in all their supporters. Tamanna was advised by his supporters about the various means available for getting back his land. There was the court of law. One could also take the recourse to the police. If you did not want that, there were many number of persons ready to attack Basavaya. Such a war had become virtually inevitable. But Tamanna was in search of a method that could annihilate Basavaya completely. He hit upon the idea of composing all his experiences in the form of ballads and singing them. Now, the rivalry between Tamanna and Basavaya started moving away from things that were visible toward an invisible, abstract domain. Basavaya had no answer to this. He also tried to sing but could not. He performed his agricultural tasks more diligently. This too was no answer to Tamanna. Tamanna's reputation started spreading all around. His songs started making a mention of Basavaya's cruelty and his meanness. Scholars of folklore were after him. Critics started analyzing and translating his song and thus earned their share of fame. Basavaya helplessly watched all this. Consumed by anger, he encroached more and more into Tamanna's land. Tamanna did not notice any of these activities. Art had become the representative of his life. He was facilitated as the best poet of his times. Basavaya shrank in humiliation. Nevertheless, he started filling his life with all kinds of material wealth. He got a palatial mansion built for himself. He appointed a number of persons just to praise him. He bedecked himself with gold, diamonds, and other precious stones. But his house looked dull and empty because of Tamanna's book were not there. That is what the visitors told him. Therefore, he started inviting scholars, poets, and musicians to his place. This was his way of investing his home with meaning. One day, he came to know that Tamanna was ill. At that point, Basavaya found the means of surpassing Tamanna. Health is wealth. You may sing, you may write ballads, but if Tamanna started suffering from disease, surely his own spirit would be revived. Tamanna's disease was Basavaya's health. However, by this time, Tamanna had bought yet another method of punishing Basavaya, that was death. If he continued at the level of the body, Basavaya would go on offering a stiff competition. But if his songs were separated from his body, if there was no relation between the songs and his own flesh and blood, this is how his thoughts went. That's when I realized how strange human nature can be. Man needs wealth, education, art, and many more things, and yet he lives for some kind of unbearable vengefulness. Without it, there would be no reason for his existence. This is not a real story, only what I have heard somewhere. You may know that I subscribe to a daily. To you, I am just an old man. After a particular age, man loses his name. His age becomes important and his name vanishes into thin air. Now I am an old man in this garden, your servant. I am also the person who reads the newspaper and looks after the garden properly. I conceived the story of Tamanna and Basavaya when all of a sudden Russia told America, I am not your enemy. I shall not wage a war against you. What must have been the reaction of America, the sworn enemy of Russia, to this declaration? Probably you will not understand the agony and boredom of America. Once it knew Russia was no more an enemy, a nation is capable of withstanding strains like this. But a human being cannot. I suffered a similar fate. I thought my death alone could destroy Basavaya. I gave up everything and started off. A few days after I left, Basavaya passed away. He had no more reason to live. My name is Tamanna. After his death, I forgot all my songs and ballads. I, who were once famous, became a non-entity. Thus, I avenged myself. Your husband is flourishing today as a rich man. He is not amenable to any advice. Man is so complicated that till the day of his death, he goes on living for some revenge or the other, confronting one challenge or the other. Amma, do not think otherwise. Just assume I did not tell you any of this, or think all that happened in a dream. Forgive me, unable to elaborate, I have told you whatever I felt as it is. I had seen all this in a dream.